What is going on? It's Alex coming back at you with another video, and today we are going to be doing day 2, rounds 2 and 3 of this brand new 2024 NFL mock draft with trades. If you are new, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Check out round 1. We're going to be doing a quick little recap. We made one tiny, minute change that didn't really change anything, but still worth mentioning. So, yes, feel free to join the show. We're going to try to get to 10K by the end of the year. If it doesn't happen, it's okay. We're here to have fun. That's what the ultimate goal is. Let's quickly do a quick recap. We do have certain players returning, i.e. Amarius Mims. And the cool thing is that we are continuing this for 2025 NFL mock draft later this week. So that is going to be a fun challenge nonetheless. So let's get right into this. So we had some trades going on up in here. I did get some pushback on the trade with the Chargers up with the Bears. The Bears fans wanted to get an extra first out of it. I feel like that's very fair. But we'll change that for next week. It's not going to affect this mock draft ultimately. And we use the Chargers second round pick for 2025 for, well, actually, that's intriguing because I totally forgot about the fact that we're going to have the New York Giants first round pick for the Chicago Bears as well in the 2025 mock. So at least y'all get to experience that, which is cool. But regardless, we used the Chargers pick that they sent us in another trade. But we had a small trade here with Johnny Newton. We had a big trade up right here with the Bears because Braylon Trice were on the board. This is the big change. So Rome Odunze was still traded up for by Kansas City. But when I reevaluated the draft order, I realized that PFF was wrong. And so I did my due diligence and I swapped them and the Ravens to the correct order. Did it change anything? No. I think I tossed in a 4th round pick on top of their 2nd, and instead I tossed like a 6th round pick. Doesn't affect this mock draft, but still worth noting. Then we got, of course, the Eagles who had a trade up here for Chop, and that was just about it. So let's get on with this. Again, I have Amarius Mims returning. We also have Shadur Sanders and Quinn Ewers, Riley Leonard, etc. returning. You know, you got, I'm not going to consider Carson Beck coming out either. I doubt that he would. But you got J.J. McCarthy, who is on the board. I do not have Jalen Milroe on the board. I think he will return as well. So we got Joe Milton, essentially, and J.J. McCarthy. Jordan Travis fractured his leg, RIP. And so this quarterback class got really thin really quickly. But let's have some fun. Let's get right into this with pick number 33. The Carolina Panthers are here. And looking at the options on the board, there are some great options. You got Xavier Legette here, who I ended up studying his all-22 yesterday to get a little bit deeper into the intricacies of his game. He is essentially Malik Neighbors, but larger and a little bit worse after the catch. They're both really big, really good deep threats. Both have good size to them, but Xavier Legette, obviously a former tight end. I don't really feel like Xavier's a top-tier route runner. And that is honestly something I would be probably looking more for the Panthers. So I am going to be going Johnny Wilson here. Watched a little bit more of his all-22 last night as well. And I just love him. I really do. I know that there's going to be probably nobody else on planet Earth who loves Johnny Wilson as much as I do. But the ultimate thing is I just see him and I fall in love with the talent that's there. So it is what it is. At pick number 34 for the Cardinals, we traded up to get Jerzon Newton, and we also have Marvin Harrison Jr. So there's looking at the options that are on the board. I would look at edge rusher here with JT Tuimoloau. The fact is he is big enough at 270 pounds to be versatile in where you can use him. I think that would be very valued in a Gannon defense. I also think a corner like Josh Newton, TJ Tampa. Those guys are very valuable at this point. Also, I do have one of my corners who's not listed in PFF's database is Dwight McGlothern out of Arkansas. He's also potentially a really good option for this team. Kamari Lassiter, another really good option for this team. So the question is, what are you looking for? I think that the value, our next pick is 70. So we're going to get a quality edge rusher there, or we're going to get a quality corner. Or quality O-line. I think the value would probably be closer to similar at this pick for the D-line and O-line than it would be for defensive back. I know I'm going to be taking quite a few of them. Josh Newton's also in this consideration, but I'm going to take the upside of Kamari Lassiter. We've addressed wide receiver. We've addressed defensive interior. Now we're going to get a longer-term play. Also, we got another Georgia defender going to a Gannon system. At pick number 35 for the Patriots, we drafted Drake Maye. Surprise, surprise. And at this point, I would be interested in offensive tackle. Again, Amarius Mims is not coming out in this mock draft, but he will be coming out this week on the 2025 mock draft. And there's still a chance that he ends up coming out. But, I want to be able to put myself in more realistic situations. When I see a guy who should be a top 5 pick, potentially being a top 20 pick, I do feel like it's best served for them to go back. If, Carson Beck says he's going to come out in this draft, then there's reason for concern. But, I'm looking at the options available. I don't like the tackles. I don't. So when looking at the wide receivers, one of the positions they really don't have is that big deep threat that I could truly trust, and that's going to be Xavier Legette. If we can't get an offensive lineman for this team, let's get a wide receiver. Let's weapon up, and Xavier Legette is going to be that guy. At pick number 36 for Washington, we ended up, I just want to double check exactly what we drafted here. We got J.C. Latham, and I'm so used to trading up with this team that it's quite a surprise that I didn't. I'm going to be drafting a J.T. Tuimoloau out of the Ohio State University. We got offensive line, we got defensive line. Both of those positions are extremely big needs. And luckily, we're getting really good value out of it. J.T. Tuimoloau, 270 pounds. He fits that Chase Young role that you're looking for. A ton of upside with him. So, you're not going to be getting a bad pick by any means by going after JT. And at this value, you can't really beat it. So he'll be instant starter. Then J.C. Latham obviously would be a great valued addition. At pick number 37, this is via the Chicago Bears trading with the Seattle Seahawks. I don't think this team needs very much. Therefore, I'm going to draft J.J. McCarthy. I didn't want to draft him in the first round. I think after the past 2 weeks of him performing below par, to put it very lightly, especially, it's primarily this last week versus Maryland, he performed very poorly. I think he needs to go to he's not deserving of a first round pick. Let's put it that way. But this team needs pretty much nothing more than maybe a new quarterback. I'd like to take safety to this team just because I think Tyler Nubin fits so well. But I thought about, hey, let's acquire future draft capital, acquire a future second out of it too, and get J.J. McCarthy. It just fits better. He's good on the move. He fits a Geno system, and you're giving him so many amazing weapons and a very solid O-line that's developing very well. I think this team has a ton of potential, and J.J. McCarthy, when he plays well, because he's had games where he's had 7 big-time throws, 0 turnover he plays. Like, if that J.J. becomes more consistent, we very well might see him succeed there in Seattle. At pick number 38, we have the Titans. I'm debating going Cam Kitchens here because of the fact that we ended up trading away Kevin Byard, and the value is ridiculously good. We went after Joe Alt in the first round. I do think A.D. Mitchell would be a valued addition on this team. I think Troy Franklin would too. That being said, I just don't know if I feel comfortable enough with going that option over a safety that could be like a top 15 safety in the NFL. The secondary does need some infusion of goodies, and I do think that you could go after a corner as well. A lot of people brought up going after a corner because Christian Fulton's up for a contract. A lot of people don't like Caleb Farley, and I actually might respect that. I think I could trade back and potentially still get him because there are 3 corners I like. And if I'm looking at Cam Kitchens here as a steal, I want a team that needs a safety to move up for him. I'm not seeing a team that would be desperate enough to make that move. Well, let's look at the safeties first. There's 3 safeties. 3 safeties, 3 corners. Technically 4 if you want to count Bullard, but Bullard's a hybrid quasi-slot. I think that there's not going to be enough value to garner a trade back here. I would still try to get somebody to trade up, but I think Cam Kitchens can replace that Kevin Byard role very, very well. Again, corners I would trust a little bit more down the board than the safeties. And that's kind of sad because this safety class was supposed to be super loaded, and it kind of took a tank off the hill. Pick number 39 for Washington. We could end up targeting tight end here with Jatavian Sanders. I'm not really excited about him, but we've already addressed right tackle. We've already addressed one of the edge rushing positions. We could go back to back and just say, hey, we'll go Prince Lee as well as JT. And that wouldn't be a bad idea. They do complement each other pretty damn well. I'd want a better athlete overall, so I'd probably prefer Jonah Ellis, but he is on the lighter side at 246 pounds. It really depends on what you want. You could, of course, try maybe targeting an offensive lineman here. Again, Marius Mims not coming out in this mock draft. So for that, you'd have to target probably Kuron, Javon Foster. Like, it's a bit early for me to target that. So, I mean, you could, of course, because I do think that left guard spot's open, go after Troy Fautanu, have him sit for a year as a tackle or start immediately as a guard and see if he can work as a tackle. I don't think that'd be a bad idea. But ultimately, I think your best bang for your buck is going to be in this edge class. And you got Princely, you got Jonah. You also have my number 27 or 26 player in the draft, and Xavier Thomas. Not many people are showing him any respect, and it's understandably so. He's not been the most eye-popping guy on planet Earth, but when you do watch him, he is a really special talent. I think I actually might go Jonah Ellis here. He plays a lot larger than 246, and I drafted a guy who's 242 earlier in this draft in Dallas Turner, who I absolutely adore. So we're going to get Jonah Ellis here and pair him up with JT. It's a nice power and like a thunder and lightning approach. And now you addressed three of the largest values, or three of the largest needs with value. And I think that's a very smart thing to do. At pick number 40 for the Falcons, again, there are trades in this, but there's some really good players here. We got Leonard Taylor on the board, and we've already drafted a quarterback in Bo Nix. I don't think there's a corner number 2. You got some guys here, but I would prefer to re-sign Jeff Okudah in that instance. I don't trust, apart from Landon Jackson, who I think Landon Jackson would fit this team pretty damn well. I just don't think he's worth drafting at this spot. With Leonard Taylor still on the board, I think Tavondre Sweat is too, isn't he? He is. There needs to be a move up. There needs to be a team that moves up for somebody. I'm thinking the Chargers here, but the Chargers have so many issues. We could try to trade up for a corner for them, but we'll see how that goes. The Rams, honestly, we drafted Kool-Aid in round number 1. Double checking my facts on that. We did. And so I think they could be in the mood to go after a super high ceiling player like Leonard Taylor. And so we are going to make the move. The Los Angeles Rams are going to be moving up here. I don't feel like it would take very much in terms of draft capital. Like, to be fair, they don't have a 4th round pick, which is quite embarrassing. But we will potentially send a future 4th and a this year 4th round pick in order to acquire. That might be an early 5th. But we'll be able to make a quick move up here. Atlanta, that is honestly pretty solid range to go after Landon Jackson. So we're still going to get the player that I think is the right value for the team. But with this pick for the Rams, we are going Leonard Taylor III out of Miami, Florida. Just unreal upside. He just hasn't been playing very well this year. He's had those games where he's shown his overall ability, but they're misusing him, as well as the fact that he's just not being consistent enough to garner probably a top 10 pick value, which is where he should be. At pick number 41, this is a pretty easy shoe-in. We drafted Talise Fuaga in the 1st round for the Packers. Tyler Nubin's here, and he's somebody who I like to take almost 50% higher than this at pick number 22. So the value matches up with the need. At pick number 42 for the Buccaneers, we have drafted Michael Penix in the top 10. Now, I think at this spot, I would be willing to go after someone like A.D. Mitchell to be the longer-term replacement for Mike Evans. A.D. Mitchell is a very special talent. He's a very good player. He has a great build as well. I don't really think that the wide receiver class has that many more body types remotely close to A.D. Mitchell. Maybe you got Jalen Polk, but I can guarantee you he will not be there at 74. And actually, if I'm not mistaken, I'm having Jalen Polk return in this. So we are not even going to consider that. So given that news, we're going to be going A.D. Mitchell out of Texas to be the wide receiver of the future. Because it would be cool to go Polk and pair him back up with Michael Penix. But, I do think they might want to return and end up giving it one more shot to be a true 1st rounder. At pick number 43, back with the Packers here, this is a good spot for a trade out. You got guys like Troy Fautanu here, TJ Tampa. I really like the idea of a team trading up for TJ Tampa, though. You got Tavondre Sweat as well. I might be trading up here with the Raiders, and I think I will. They got Jayden Daniels, but there's a couple teams I think could need some defensive interior help, and this is one of them. And I want to be able to draft Tavondre Sweat. I like drafting him even earlier than this, but, you know, it is what it is. I think we can send a future 5th-round pick, and it will roughly be the approximate value of a 3-spot move up here. Again, it's not going to affect this mock draft ultimately. If you don't like the trade compensation, feel free to change it for yourself. Of course, Amarius Mims is returning in this mock draft. We got to continue highlighting that. But this is going to be Tavondre Sweat. Defensive interior is a huge need. This player should have gone way earlier. He just continues to fall. He's like my Christian Haynes in this draft. But luckily, I didn't send Christian Haynes down to the gulag. I actually ended up sending him to a pretty good contender there in the Lions. At pick number 44 for the Chargers. I think this team could have honestly used a top-tier safety. However, they're going to end up getting a really good corner. Ended up trading up and drafting a star tight end, the cornerstone of your offense for the future in Brock Bowers. Now you get TJ Tampa. The world is good. You can still be able to get a good corner in round number 2. Surprise, surprise. The draft has more than one round, my friends. At pick number 45 for the Falcons, this is going to be Landon Jackson, 280 pounds. He's going to be 6'7" as well. He has a ton of untapped potential. He very well could be a 2nd-round pick for teams that do look for that larger body type. He has one game in particular, that Alabama game, where he just looked unstoppable. That's a really good team to look unstoppable against, and I think teams will be able to see that the upside is there. I'm not fully sold on him just yet. I actually did a tape study on him, and he graded out fairly solidly. Like, he's a day 2 guy for me, but I'm not putting the pedal to the metal yet. I think he's in like my 90 range, but this is a perfect fit for him. And, he's going into a role with a 270-pounder as it is. And you do have guys like Calais Campbell on the roster that might be able to coach him up to be the best player he can be. At pick number 46, we are back with the Packers. And again, Jalen Polk, Shadur Sanders, Amarius Mims, Quinn Ewers all returning in this, Carson Beck as well. We've already drafted our safety in Tyler Nubin. Looking at the options that are best, I do believe that running back is on my board at the moment. I could look at defensive interior here because I do know a run stuffer wouldn't be a bad idea. And Byron Murphy, he's not a run stuffer, but overall, this dude's a beast on the defensive interior. I think that could be a really good option for you. But I'm going to actually go with the first running back off the board. I think Trey Benson is going to be the selection. Super nifty. There is a potential chance that you don't even have a running back on roster as of next year. And this is just the right guy for the job. He's been misutilized there at Florida State. Definitely one of the best running backs to come out of Florida State in a hot minute. At pick number 47 for the Colts, we ended up drafting Cooper DeJean in round number 1 to be pretty much plug and play anywhere. At this point, I think Troy Fautanu might be the best option to potentially have a future at guard, be someone who can also fill in at tackle. Just being able to get someone that versatility is pretty hard to find. He's a really damn good run blocker as well. So you have the feistiness, you have the foundation of a tackle, but you can get him here in the 2nd round to be just an overall massive addition to your offensive line. At pick number 48, we have the Saints, who I believe went after Latu and did in the 1st round. At this selection, I think I'm going to be going Kalen Bullock out of USC. The safety core is getting older. The safety class is not that great. Again, I said there's pretty much a top 3, and we just took him off the board. So Kalen Bullock needs about a year to develop. That's going to be a great spot for him to be a true center fielder there to essentially succeed Marcus Maye. Pick number 49 for the Bengals. We ended up targeting, who do we go after? Graham Barton to be a versatile offensive lineman. At this point, I'm going to debate going after Jatavian just because of the fact that, 1, the tight end class sucks, but 2, this tight end room is pretty cheeks as well. I would be open to going after wide receiver here with Troy Franklin or Brian Thomas. And I just did a 3-round mock draft with Broshmo, and I actually really like the idea of Brian Thomas here. He's 6'4", 200 and what is he? He's 6'4", 206, I believe. Was he? 206, 205. Oh, 1 pound off. And he actually could be a really good T. Higgins replacement. You could go Troy Franklin and put him in the slot, who I have Troy Franklin higher. But being able to go back to LSU is always fun. So let's do that, and let's grab somebody who could be a true X build and actually replace T. Higgins. At pick number 50 for the Bills, I think a wide receiver here is also a very, very good option. We went Kalen King in the first round. So let's just go after Troy Franklin here. They need a wide receiver too. So we get a star corner, which he could end up transitioning to safety if you need him to. And then you got a star wide receiver here in Troy Franklin. At pick number 51 for the Philadelphia Eagles, again, Amarius Mims is returning because I would have selected Amarius Mims easily in the top 20. Let's just make that very, very clear. For the Eagles here, we moved up for Chop Robinson. We moved up to draft Chop. And so now I think the proper positions to target are safety. Value's not great. I think Javon Bullard actually would be a very good player in the system, but I'd target him more close to 64 if I were the Eagles. I don't think it's that big of an issue. You could draft a future right tackle here in Tyler Guyton, mainly because Lane Johnson might retire. I know his contract says out to 2027. Also there's probably going to be void years as well to help out in the cap. Let's not imagine that he's going to be consistently under contract till then. Also, linebacker in the mix here. I don't think Howie would draft a linebacker this early. You could also go Xavier Worthy to be a wide receiver 3 and then add a ton of speed to this team. Jermaine Burton's finally here. Hallelujah. Another guy who I absolutely would love on this roster, my number 31 player. But I do think corner as well is a pretty big need for this team. And I'm actually going to go after my number 21 player in the draft, Dwight McGlothern, to develop. He's not in this, but, at least we got Jermaine Burton here. I'm going to double check. Deep down, I really want them to add him, and he's nowhere to be found, and that's okay. But this is Dwight McGlothern out of Arkansas to be the developmental corner here. As long as he's healthy, this dude's been an absolute shutdown corner. Well deserving of a first-round pick, but I just doubt that he actually would go there. At pick 52 for the Vikings, we went after Jared Verse in the first. And obviously, that's incredible value there. I'm debating going Josh Newton here. I don't think you need a boundary corner like Josh Newton, but, still the value is unbelievable. Quarterback-wise, again, Shadur's returning, Beck's returning, Quinn Ewers returning, Riley's returning. Not officially, but majority of them, it's pretty easy to see why they would. Milrow returning. You're down to Joe Milton. I don't think Joe Milton's worth it in the second round. You can definitely go back and grab somebody later on. That's probably good. I would keep Josh Dobbs. He's working, so why not? I also like what you have right now on your interior of the offensive line. If y'all want to get rid of a center, you can go after another JPJ here in Jackson Powers Johnson. But I think running back is an underrated position for y'all to target. If you're not Marshawn Lloyd and Bucky Irving are incredible talents. Marshawn just needs to stop fumbling. That's his only issue is fumbling. This guy's an absolute freak show, the most electric running back in the class. He should be a first-round pick if he didn't have fumbling issues. That's the only reason why he's not bona fide RB1 in the class. Bucky Irving is super versatile, kind of like a Swiss Army knife. And I feel like that would operate better with what the Minnesota Vikings are looking for. 3-down back, reliable, a little bit capped on athleticism, but overall just being able to make guys miss. He had 10 touches this past week and had 8 forced missed tackles. It's the type of guy Bucky Irving is. At pick number 53 for the Texans, I could have traded back there with the Vikings, but there are quite a few teams in here that could be trying to lurk for a running back. Pick number 53, though, we ended up going after, so I ended up having the smaller range trade, but we also have another second round pick because we traded our third round pick to get a second. We flopped them. We got Chris Jenkins in round number 1. So with this selection, I do think wide receiver could be on the market. You could go Xavier Worthy. I just feel like that'd be stretching yourself a little bit thin. I think Jermaine Burton could be a really, really good deep threat. but I think I can wait on that. I do. There's not many more wide receivers that I like. Like, you got Ladd McConkey in here. Juice Wells just declared that he was returning officially, so he's actually not coming out. So there's that. Uh, I think defensive end, also like the edge rushing position, would be pretty solid. And you can get Chris Braswell, who already has chemistry there, because I'm pretty sure he was there, like 95% sure he was there last year with Will Anderson. And, you could definitely pair him up. Princely is a beast too. Like, I think that's the best value. And let's get the instant connection there. Another Bama boy on this D line with Chris Braswell. At pick number 54 for the Giants, Chris Braswell would have been a very nice addition. However, we have drafted a star in Caleb Williams. And at this selection, I am actually going to address the other edge rusher position with Princely Umanmielen. Very hard to find value like Princely at this point in the draft. He's one of those guys who has great push, a little bit athletically limited, but you're looking for someone to be a little bit more thunder than the pure lightning of Kayvon Thibodeau. And this guy's a great compliment for that. At pick number 55 for the Steelers, in the first round, we ended up drafting Nate Wiggins. And people said, like, I had him drop, like, the number 1 corner drop to your favorite team. Dude, it's like my number 3 corner. Like, let's pipe down now. Like, straight up, let's pipe down. If I had everything go my way, I'd have Kalen King fall to the Steelers, because that's my dream selection for him. But we got our corner. Just got to get that out of the way. We got our corner. I do think we could draft Tyler Guyton here and develop him to be the right tackle of the future. Even though, we've seen Broderick Jones look really damn good at right tackle. Maybe we should keep Broderick there. But our left tackle spot needs someone to fill there too, and I'd prefer to develop Tyler Guyton in this role. Deep down, I got to steal this line from one of the subs who commented it. We could get another JPJ in round number 2 with Jackson Powers Johnson. I think that'd be a smart idea. However, there's quite a few really good centers that I would like in round number 3. There are not quite a few right tackles I would like in round number 3. So Tyler Guyton is going to be the selection. I know JPJ would have been fun. Also, the Giants could have taken Tyler Guyton, but I would prefer Evan Neal at that point. I would. I just don't think the Steelers have a future option, while the Giants still could. Again, Marius Mims returning. I just got to put that back out there. At pick number 56 for the Browns, a wide receiver, that's where we're going to target. Xavier Worthy's here. We're going to take Xavier Worthy, get some speed on the outside. There is a potential that Amari Cooper could be a cap casualty. We'll see what the hell happens there. At pick number 57 for the Dolphins, we ended up trading back with the Eagles. That's why we have pick 100 here. It was 97 when I first did it, but apparently now it's 100. I don't get that PFF, but you do you. We are still in the market for interior offensive line. But I think that the value, because Robert Hunt's up for a contract, the value is not there for me. I do believe you could get another boundary corner just because the value is so good. However, I'd probably want to trade out with a team that's looking for a corner. The Cowboys could be lurking for Josh Newton here, although they did go Terry and Arnold in the first. So I'm looking for some teams that are looking for corners. I want to double check what the Niners did. They went Kingsley. The Niners should be looking to try to get Josh Newton here. And I think that would be a great pick for them. Therefore, I'm having their NFC rival at the moment move up for this pick. We're having the Detroit Lions move up. And, again, it's a 5-pick trade range. So I do think that approximately 130 will be good enough. And the Dolphins don't have any picks. So it does seem pretty logical. So we're going to make this move up. I do think that, again, if you don't like the trade value, feel free to change it yourself. But we're having a move up right here with the Lions to draft Josh Newton, boundary corner out of TCU. I want to change things up. I went after my number 11 player for you in the first round. I know there's been some pushback with Christian Haynes, but ultimately he's an amazing player, and I do want to give both Josh Newton but more primarily Christian Haynes the credit he deserves. At pick number 58, Terry and Arnold was the first selection for the Cowboys. At this pick, we could go Jackson Powers Johnson. I do think center is a pretty big need, and we could also go linebacker, though, and get a true Mike linebacker here in Junior Colson or Danny Stutzman. I do think Danny Stutzman's the more likely option, and I think that's what we'll do. We'll go Danny Stutzman. He had some Instagram posts talking about being a communion cracker. He's like, I'm the cracker with the juice. That's well deserving of a first round selection, but today he will be a second. At pick number 59 for the Niners, I'm going to look to see if there are any more corners that I do like. No. How about no? So, Quinion Mitchell could be. He does have 12 pass defenses this year. I want to look at his size really quick. 6'1", 196. This dude certainly could be the right option. Kingsley Suamataia was the choice in round number 1. I'll go Quinion Mitchell here because 12 pass breakups. I've been kind of like piped down on Quinion Mitchell. For him being like a first round player, definitely piped down, but this is a good system for him to sit and develop. And, he's already shown the ability to be a really good ball hawk. I don't think he's great in press coverage. That's primarily my one issue with him is press / physicality as well as the run support. But overall, he actually is a pretty damn solid corner and he has really good ball skills. So that could totally change the tide of the game. At pick number 60 for the Jacksonville Jaguars, we ended up targeting probably a wide receiver in the first with Emeka Egbuka, who did actually play quite a few boundary reps last year, as well as he's played some boundary reps this year. So he's going to play out there with Christian Kirk. So at this point, we could see someone like Jackson Powers-Johnson having the versatility to move around. Cooper Beebe as well would be a good choice. I do think a secondary pick wouldn't be a bad option here, but for me, I want to go probably address that offensive line a little bit more. I think there's going to be a lot of value with Jackson Powers-Johnson. The fact that he is a center is a massive plus because I trust the center to guard movement rather than the other way around. So I'm going to go Jackson Powers-Johnson here out of Oregon. He's just first-year starter. I do think he should return, but we'll leave it for the time being. He's a really damn good player nonetheless. First center to come off the board, but this team doesn't need to use him as a center. That's the plus. He's a bulky type of offensive lineman based on the fact that he's very mobile. I haven't put him in my rankings yet, but he will end up going pretty high. Bo Limmer also gets a lot of credit there. I think that he would be a really solid option. At pick number 61 for the Texans. This pick, I actually might trade back and just get a little bit more value. You got guys like Ja'Tavion Sanders here, who I do think would be a good addition on this squad. Reviewing what we've already done, we got Chris Braswell as well as Chris Jenkins. So, funnily enough, 2 Chris's. And is there another Chris that we could add? That's like my first instinct is to find another Chris. I don't believe that that is an option. But, looking at the guys who maybe a team would want to trade up for, I don't see a quarterback being worth trading up for. Maybe if you're the Vikings and you're desperate, maybe you could talk about it, but I doubt it. Linebacker, you could end up getting Junior Colson here and getting a really good Mike linebacker. And I do think that, the former linebacker himself, D'Amico Ryans, would value that pretty highly. And you get that instant chemistry with Chris Jenkins. I mean, he's the best linebacker in the class. And to be fair, there's quite a few solid linebackers, but none of them as polished as Junior Colson. Pick number 62 for the Dolphins. We did trade back. Okay, I was like, wait a second. I thought we just took a pick with the Dolphins. We did not. So we have Jordan Morgan, and we just traded back again. So I do think Ja'Tavion Sanders at this point, with his versatility and mobility, is someone who I'd personally like quite a lot. I also would like to mention that Javon Bullard would be a really good choice here. I'm going to go Ja'Tavion Sanders, though. It's a very weak tight end class. I do think Ja'Tavion could be used quite a bit with his mobility. It's worth taking a shot on. I was debating him here for the Texans, but I just re-signed Dalton Schultz. At pick number 63 for the Baltimore Ravens, we've already probably addressed corner with Denzel Burke, voila. And at this point, I think defensive line, probably the right move. You got Brandon Dorless here, who could be someone who's both flexible inside and out. And for me, that flexibility is pretty coveted. I think Ruka Roro, also a very coveted player. No matter what, this guy is 295 pounds of pure muscle. And Brandon Dorless, not so much of that body comp, just to be honest. But, Rook has a little bit more versatility. Both of them are really good options. So feel free to pick your poison. I'll go Rook because of the fact that the physical build is worth building around. Pick number 64 and ending off the second round for the Philadelphia Eagles. We lack quite a few picks after this, so for me, I might want to trade back here. We've already addressed the corner position with Dwight McLaughlin, as well as the edge position with Chop Robinson. I think the next position to target would be offensive tackle. Looking at the ones available, I really like Karan and have him be able to be an understudy, but I don't feel like that's going to be my primary motive at this point. Linebacker is probably going to be the next pick that I want to go after, just because this team does kind of need somebody to at least have some form of momentum at that position. Looking at it, I do think Karan and Patrick Paul are options for teams to want to move up who kind of are desperate for a tackle. And I'm looking at the Patriots here primarily. It's a short range trade. We can get some day 3 picks there as well. Other teams that could be looking for a tackle, you could try to trade in division if you think the tackles are crap and just be like, ha, gotcha, bitch. But we're actually going to trade with the Patriots. I think the Patriots, they are definitely in need of a tackle. Double checking that, yeah, we took Xavier Legette for this team. So it's a super short range trade. Maybe we get 140 out of it, but maybe it's like 140 and we trade 253. I think that'd be a little bit more fair. So we don't get as many picks, but we get to move up in by like 100 picks in order for them to move up 3. Maybe that's not a great deal, but I think that honestly the pick value is fine. So again, Amarius Mims not coming out in this mock draft. He would have went a lot earlier. And then we go Patrick Paul. It's over 99% efficiency. To be fair, actually Karan is a little bit more of a Bill Belichickian guy just because it's a Yale tackle, and he's better than Patrick Paul in my opinion. I'll actually go Karan. He had a quad injury that ended off the year, but he should be able to go starting out the year. I trust him to develop properly. Crazy athlete. This class has really good athletes all over the offensive line. It's a pretty nice breath of fresh air. At pick number 65 for the Panthers, we have ended up drafting Johnny Wilson for them in round number 1. Also, the fact is he could potentially play tight end if you want him to. And at this selection, I do think that we can target an edge rusher here. I really wish that they put my beloved Xavier Thomas here on the board, but we're just going to have to draft somebody else as a placeholder. Out of respect for Darius Robinson, because I do like Missouri players, we'll use him as the placeholder for my number 26 player in the draft, Xavier Thomas, staying in South Carolina. At pick number 66 for the Broncos, we have been able to acquire more picks because this was part of the Arizona trade. We ended up drafting a star edge rusher in the first round, and that's Dallas Turner. I know that because I accidentally selected Chop Robinson when I tried to readjust the mock draft and I lost my mind. But at this selection, there is a potential option to draft a wide receiver. Jerry Jeudy might not be there anymore. And why not replace Jerry Jeudy with someone like Jermaine Burton? That's probably going to be who I select. However, I do want to look at some other options here. I do think Kalen Carson could be a really fun choice. He is a solid build, could be a true boundary corner. And Wake Forest has been producing some really solid defensive backs recently and defenders in general. So Kalen Carson is not immune to that by any stretch. I might want to trade out of this pick, though, just because I might want to get a little bit better value. In looking at other players who are on the board still, offensive tackle is underrated for this team. Patrick Paul needs to learn and develop. And honestly, getting a future at left tackle with Garrett Bowles saying he doesn't like losing, not a bad idea. It's really not a bad idea. It's quality value, but I'll move back. I think that the Commanders or the Giants should be moving up for a future left tackle. I think the Commanders are going to be a little bit more ballsy. So, for me, I think that this is going to be the right move. For a 5-spot trade difference, I think it might take pick maybe 144. You could maybe toss in like 237. So we'll toss that in. We end up moving up with the Commanders to select Patrick Paul. Again, Amarius Mims returning, but ultimately we've gotten 2 edge rushers and 2 tackles. Building the offensive line and the defensive line is how pretty much most teams in this division, in this conference, have been able to succeed. So why not continue that trend? Patrick Paul needs about a year to develop. Have him sit under Cornelius Lucas. I think that's the tackle that he's starting right now. I'm forgetting who it is, but whoever is starting at left tackle, which again I think is Cornelius Lucas, he would be pretty damn beneficial. And at pick 66, it is worth it. I was talking about the Broncos potentially taking Jermaine Burton. For me, it's down to linebacker and Jermaine Burton at this pick. Looking at the options that are available, I really like Peyton Wilson, honestly, for the Eagles. I think he would be a very, very good addition. You got Curtis Jacobs here as well. I think Curtis Jacobs could be a really good Philadelphia Eagle. He's about 237 pounds, 238. Just overall very versatile. You know, very solid in man-to-man coverage, which is something that y'all don't really have. About 240 pounds. The only other guy I'd mention in this category would probably be Edrin Cooper, and I think he's probably he's 230. So, you know, he's on the little bit of lighter side. So I will opt out a wide receiver for the time being and go Curtis Jacobs out of Penn State. To me, I mean, looking at where he is on my board, where is he at? I have him somewhere in here. Curtis Jacobs, 55. So obviously the value is proper in my eyes. He's a very solid linebacker, well deserving of an early third pick. At pick number 68 for the Bears, we have had extensive drafts so far. We have moved up to select Braylon Trice to pair up with Montez Sweat. We have also gotten Malik Neighbors, star wide receiver out of LSU, as well as who else did we draft? Olu Fashanu to be the star tackle. So I know a lot of people got their feathers ruffled with some of the fact that we did not get Marvin Harrison Jr. I don't feel like this team needs to do that, but you know, it is what it is. I understand the sentiment. I'm actually going to look on the offensive line, and he's not even listed here, which kind of is irritating because again, you know, he's even listed by quite a few people as a potential star on day 3. But this is going to be Bo Limmer out of Arkansas, center. You know, we could end up going after well, you know what? No, we'll go Cedric Van Pran. He's the more known commodity. Center is a position this team needs to draft, and at least we'll be able to get a high floor player in Cedric Van Pran. At pick number 69 for the Giants, we've gotten Princely Umanmielen as well as Caleb Williams. With this selection, you know, wide receiver, again, I'm having Jalen Polk return. Otherwise, he would have been gone a hot minute ago. Jermaine Burton fits quite a bit what I would be looking for. He's a little bit bigger, a little bit more thick. He's about 200 pounds. He's a good complement there for the future in Jalen Hyatt. Now, other positions of note, I do think offensive line would not be a bad idea. I really like Cooper Beebe. I don't know why he's getting so much shade, but he could be a very, very solid interior offensive line addition. Luckily, this class has quite a few of them. And so for that reason, man, I really want to go Jermaine Burton here. I just don't know if he fits the exact. I would want someone like a Brew McCoy build to be a boundary wide receiver. And unfortunately, Brew McCoy, it's really sad, but you know, he fractured his leg. So it's another player down to a fractured leg. Jamari Thrash is a fun one as well. You know, Tez Walker, we don't have, actually for the Patriots, that would have been a good wide receiver to grab. Tez Walker would be a pretty cool one. But you know what? We're going to go offensive line. We are. I think we deserve to get some offensive line talent in here. Zach Zinter or Cooper Beebe, your choice. I'm going to go Cooper Beebe because I think that even when the rest of his team is failing, him being a shining light of actual success is well deserving of at least a very minimum selection at 69. Pick number 70 for the Cardinals. This is via that Tennessee trade. We have already drafted. Where are we done with the? Oh, I forgot. We traded our number 64 pick, but we got Kamari Lassiter. We have Marvin Harrison Jr. as well as Jerzon Newton. So defensive interior, cornerback, as well as wide receiver have already been drafted. I want to quickly look at the edge talent here. And to be fair, I did kind of take away most of the very good edge talent. You know, I don't really have anybody else remotely in this range that I'd be very happy with for the Cardinals specifically. Looking at the other options available that I think this team could use, linebacker, I think the linebacker class is the best at the moment. And you got Peyton Wilson here. As apart from injuries, he's fantastic. That's the only reason why I haven't selected him yet. Tommy Eichenberg's kind of fell off a cliff a little bit. Jeremiah Trotter's having a resurgence, but I'm going to go after I know it's a little bit scary to go after a Clemson linebacker again, but we're going to go after Barrett Carter, 6 foot, 225 pounds, undersized, but very versatile, and he uses his overall athleticism very, very well. To me, it's just worth taking a swing on. Pick number 71 for the Broncos. Do I still have... Oh, wow. I mean, I was honestly low-key trying to scheme Jermaine Burton up to go to the Eagles, and then I was like, nah, that's not right. So we're going to go Jermaine Burton at this spot to replace Jerry Jeudy. Obviously, my number 31 player in the draft, so pretty damn good value. Pick number 72, Landon Jackson as well as Bo Nix have been drafted to the Falcons so far. At this point, again, Amarius Mims not coming out. Get your head out of the gutter. I am actually going to get an upside interior defensive lineman here in Byron Murphy to be the successor to Calais Campbell. He's just too damn good to be on the board at the moment, so I'm going to give him the credit he deserves. Pick number 73 for the Packers. Would have been a good pick for the Packers too, Byron Murphy. We've drafted running back, we've drafted tackle, we've drafted safety. Other positions, I do think you could go after a linebacker. There's just been a lot of injuries there. I don't think an edge rusher would be remotely worth it. Looking at wide receiver, you could go Tez Walker, who's going to be pretty damn reliable. But this wide receiver class does fall off a cliff. I love Jacob Cowing. He's still... Where is he at? He's my number 44 player, but this is not the team to take him. I think I could trade out at this point. Brandon Dorlus is fun, but he kind of is an overlap. I'll go Dante Corleone. He's about 318 pounds. He is big enough to play a star role. I think I said he was going to return. So that's a little bit annoying, but ultimately I wouldn't have taken him before anyways, based on how this draft went. So I am going to eat my words and actually have Dante Corleone come out. We're going to have Mason Smith return instead. I think Mason Smith should return in the first place. So we'll go Dante Corleone and have Mason Smith be the guy who returns. At pick number 74 for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, we've gone after quarterback. We've gone after wide receiver. So at this point, he doesn't need that much. I'm going to go linebacker. I'm going to actually look at Edgerrin Cooper here. He's been statistically phenomenal, and I do think that it's the right time. I'm pretty sure Devin White's up for a contract too. But regardless, you do need to have a versatile linebacker. He is not as good as I think PFF says he is, but I need to give him some respect nonetheless. At pick number 75 for the Jets, we've drafted a wide receiver in round 1 in Keon Coleman. And at this selection, I might develop Blake Fisher and see what the hell happens. I mean, you might as well. It's a 3rd round pick. He's roughly as talented as Max Mitchell is. So it's worth at least taking a swing on it, right? You could go a quarterback here to get a backup quarterback, but ultimately, you need to get offensive line. So Blake Fisher has the upside. He just needs to be a bit more consistent. Again, Amarius Mims is returning. Pick 76 for the Bears. This was part of that LA Chargers trade, so there you go. We got Cedric Van Pran. We have Braylon Trice. We have Malik Neighbors, as well as Olu Fashanu. So tackle, wide receiver, center, as well as edge rusher. So with this selection, I could see Brandon Dorlus being a good target. I could see Kalen Carson being a good guy to bring on. Chris Abrams-Drain as well. Other options I would potentially look at. This team has not very much that I would upgrade. Edge rusher, maybe. Maybe you can go quarterback at this point, but you already seem to have your quarterback of the future there in Justin Fields, and you also have the really good backup in Tyson Bagent. I think this would be a good time for a wide receiver. I think it would be. We can get another one. You can get Tez Walker here. He would be a good complement to what you already have. Tez Walker he's about 6'2", 200 pounds. That's like a very solid build. If not mistaken, it's honestly the same as Malik Neighbors, but Neighbors provides a different upside. You could go Ladd McConkey and put him in the slot and have Malik Neighbors on the outside. That'd be kind of ridiculous. That amount of speed would be mind-boggling. I actually like it. Let's go. Ladd McConkey to the Bears. We're getting unreal speed, and we're letting Justin Fields just chuck it downfield. At pick number, no pun intended, pick number 77, So we've gotten corner for the Rams. What else have we done for y'all? We have drafted Leonard Taylor. Very fun. So we got defensive interior as well as corner of the future. Has anybody else fallen here? Not necessarily. And I think this is the right team to test it out. I'm going to go actually after Joe Milton and see what the hell happens. He's very disappointing to me. He's my number 64 player in the class right now, but he's been just dropping week after week. Hasn't really learned very much, but I feel like Stafford could be the type of guy to give him one final coaching lesson. And he has a 90-yard deep ball. Seeing if Puka Nacua could get down there, why not test it out? At pick 78, we've gotten quarterback as well as defensive interior for the Las Vegas Raiders. At this pick, I think Kalen Carson might be your best bang for your buck. Just naturally, the corner value is pretty damn excellent. There's not very many other boundary corners that I do like in this class. So I will be going Kalen Carson. Pick number 79 for the Colts. We went offensive line with Troy Fautanu as well as a defensive back in Cooper DeJean. So with this selection, I know y'all have been talking about getting a nose. McKinley Jackson could be up that alley. Tyleik Williams can as well. They're just both sub 300, which scares the living hell out of me for someone to play that role, to be the defensive interior of the future. Other options that you could go, I think this is a prime spot for a trade out. Honestly, looking at the options available, Brandon Dorless should be going, and there are teams that need to get that upside. One of those teams actually is going to be the Lions. I'll move up with them again. You don't have very many picks after this, but, I do feel like this is the right team to make a move like this. We have the round 4 from Philly next year. This is going to be a very nice consolation prize to be able to make that move. So the Detroit Lions have moved up to select Brandon Dorless out of Oregon. A lot of us were talking about the potential chance of Kalijah Cansey being a great choice for this team last year. We didn't get that. Now we get Brandon Dorless. So we got a star corner, star defensive interior, and a star guard. I feel like that's a really good way to leave this draft. And we still have one more pick as well, all the way down 93. So there you go. Pick number 80 for the Broncos. So we've gone wide receiver with Jermaine Burton. We have also gone edge rusher with Dallas Turner. So we love that. And with this selection, I could be in the mood for another corner. And I think this is the right range to be looking for another corner. I just don't really think that the value's there. Ennis Rakestraw Jr., someone who I would put in the mix at this point, but, I'm going to leave it as is. I think I'll develop Javon Foster, though. I was debating making a move up for, Patrick Paul. Javon Foster is a better player overall. He just isn't as efficient. And Javon has probably 1 to 2 years of training needed before he's able to be deployed. So very good value there for the Broncos. At pick number 81 for the Bengals, we have drafted. What have we done for the Bengals? I'm tripping. What have we done for y'all? Brian Thomas, boundary receiver. Hello. As well as Graham Barton. So interior offensive line / tackle, maybe, as well as a wide receiver. So I would look at the tackles again, seeing who's here. I don't really like anybody who's left. Again, Amari Smith is returning. Obviously, he would have been my first pick for them. Other positions of note, we could try to, snag a Zach Zinter at this point. I don't feel like getting 2 interior offensive linemen is going to be your best bang for your bucket for this team. Mekhi Wingo, McKinley Jackson. I actually like McKinley Jackson. I'd go Mason Smith in a heartbeat, but we just declared that he is returning. But I will stay actually in Ohio, and we'll go Tyleik Williams. I think his upside is ridiculous. He's been trending upwards. The only reason why I have my reasons of suspicion is because of the fact that I thought he was 320. He's 290. At pick number 82 for the Packers, we've gone defensive interior. Didn't we go Byron Murphy for y'all? I'm tripping. Where was our last pick for y'all? We got Trey Benson there, and then we got Dante Corleone. Right. So you're the reason I don't have Mason Smith. You are. You rascals. But jokes aside, I ended up drafting Trey Benson in round number 1. or round number 2, excuse me. And at this point, I think going after someone like Braylon Allen to be the thunder to the lightning is key. We also still have a star running back on the board in Marshawn Lloyd. He just has fumbling issues. So it is what it is. For the Seahawks, I might want to get a developmental safety here, and I think I will with Javon Bullard. Cap will probably be good in over a year for age shift, and Javon Bullard will be able to take one of the roles of Quandre Diggs or Jamal Adams. Pick number 84 for the Colts. Honestly, Javon Bullard would have been a great addition here, but we have drafted. What do we do for him in this round? I'm getting so sidetracked with all the picks we've been doing. We got Troy Fautanu. We also, I thought we had a pick this round, or did we trade out? We traded out, didn't we? We did. So, at this selection, looking at the options available, I do think I'm going to actually target defensive interior here with McKinley Jackson. 325 pounds. Dude has a ton of upside. Just hasn't fully put it together, but giving him 1 year with your system probably is going to be a good idea. Linebacker as well. I mean, I'm probably going to trade back in for a linebacker because I do think with the loss of Shaq Leonard, does he go by Shaq Leonard? I think it goes by Shaq Leonard. So I think that would be the right move. At pick number 85 for the Cardinals, we've drafted a shit ton of positions at this point. God only knows. But for me, I might actually draft interior offensive line. And Bo Limmer's still on the board. That's going to probably be my primary target. And double checking that I haven't already addressed that, and I have not. So, with that being said, I'm going to be drafting Bo Limmer, center/guard out of Arkansas. The only player I don't really see going in this, these bottom two guys are the only ones who I would not consider at all. So, he's going to be a placeholder for Bo Limmer out of Arkansas. Pick number 86 for the Seattle Seahawks. We're back. Little bastards. I think I'm actually going to trade this pick. Looking at the linebackers that are still on the board, there's a couple that I still really like, and that pertains to, Cedric Gray, Tommy Eichenberg, Peyton Wilson, and even Jeremiah Trotter Jr. At this point, I think is solid value. Injuries aside, Peyton Wilson is a second-round quality linebacker, and I also really do love Tyron Hopper. It's a different player. But honestly, I think a team that could use one of them is the Seahawks. So Peyton Wilson could be the best out of the bunch, but there is a role for a Jeremiah Trotter Jr. on this system. He's not the most athletic guy in the world. He's small, but he is very, very smart. At pick number 87 for the Steelers, another team that could use a linebacker. We have drafted, what do we do in the second round? We got Tyler Guyton as well as Nate Wiggins. We could definitely go after interior offensive line, or we could go after a linebacker at this point. There are quite a few really good centers in this class. I actually am probably leaning towards Zach Frazier at this point over Drake Nugent. Drake's a little bit lighter. Did he hit 300 finally? He did. Hallelujah. He has a pretty big anchor concern for me. I really like Zach Frazier a lot, and so we are going to be going Zach Frazier. It does feel like a Pittsburgh Steeler as well. I picked number 88 for the Cleveland Browns. We went after Xavier Worthy in round number 1. We'll see if they end up keeping what they have right now with Grant Delpit. But I think potentially going Billy Bowman and putting him as a rangy safety is going to be your best bang for your buck. I think I've said that multiple times this video. So there you go. That's the phrase to take shots to every time I say best bang for your bucks. There's another shot for you. Billy Bowman, he's had quite a few games this year where he's popped off. This past week, the most in particular. At pick number 89 for the Cowboys, let's just get some lightning in here, man. Let's get Marshawn Lloyd. The value's too good. You have him pair up with Deuce Vaughn for the future. And, again, the real reason he's here is because of fumbles, nothing else. Pick number 90. So, Niners, we have drafted Quinyon Mitchell. Yes, forgot about that one. Quinyon Mitchell, as well as Kingsley Suamataia. I might actually trade out of this pick, and I think I will. You have a billion other picks here, and the linebacker class is thinning out really quickly. So I'm actually going to make a move here with the Indianapolis Colts. I think that they are going to provide future draft capital, a future fourth, to be able to move up here. And that way, with all the damn picks that Niners have, this is going to be proper value for both. Why do the Philadelphia Eagles have a billion fourth-round picks that they've sent? God only knows. But with this selection, we are going to be targeting Peyton Wilson out of North Carolina State. Injuries have been the only reason why he's fallen this far. Talent-wise, he is arguably the best linebacker in the class. Just, with Shaq Leonard being gone, you need somebody to be a commander of that defense, and Peyton Wilson is that guy. Pick number 91. We have gone after Cooper Beebe as well as Mecca Egbuka. So at this point, I want to look at the best versatile defensive backs on the board. Oh, man. Mustafa is actually a really solid safety. For those of y'all who don't know, Wake Forest safety, Mustafa, he's a good safety. I think I'm going to go James Williams here. He's fallen quite far, but, his play this year has been, for the whole defense has been not so spectacular. I got to give him credit where credit's due, though. Chiefs are back after that big trade up for Rome Odunze. We ended up getting an extra pick here from that trade up with the Dolphins. And I really like Mekhi Wingo. Mason Smith would be the right option, but we've declared him as returning. I think Mekhi Wingo as a high upside pass rusher would be very, very good in this system. He's just under 300 pounds, and I think the fact that he is almost a bonus because you get to move him around a lot. We'll go Mekhi Wingo out of LSU. Pick number 93. So the Lions, we've been very aggressive. I believe we went up for Brandon Dorless, yes, as well as the star corner out of TCU, who I'm slipping on his name right now, but y'all know it's good. He is Josh Newton. So Josh Newton, Christian Haynes, as well as Brandon Dorless. So looking at another option for this team, I honestly, since Zach Zenter's here, I do kind of feel bad about going guard that early, but it is what it is. Looking at the wide receivers that are still available, having Jalen Polk return, Antoine Wells confirmed that he's returning. You could go after J. Michael Sturdivant or Devontae Walker. I might trade out of this pick. I really like the Lions, but at the same time, I do feel like this is a good spot to trade out. Rod Moore could be a future safety there behind Tracy Walker. He's had a couple poor games this year, but this could be the type of guy that you do want being the backup there. And he's from Michigan. Might as well. It's a late third round pick. Let's try it out. Rod Moore to the Lions. Pick number 94. So I want Zach Zenter to go. I'm going to try to find a team that needs a right guard and have them move up for him. There's not many teams, to be fair. I've already drafted a guard for the Jaguars. Already have done one for the Colts. The Cowboys don't need a right guard. There's not many teams that actually need this. So it is unfortunately a lower value, but he needs to get off the board. He is a bona fide potential round 2 player. I could see actually the Raiders being a good choice for him. The Rams as well. I'm already having the Bears kick in their right guard or their left tackle to right guard. So we could see actually with the Packers being potentially open to that idea. Man, actually, this team could use some offensive line help. Let's move up with the New York Giants. Where are they at? Now I'm blind. But I cannot see that. I shouldn't say but. We're going to be making a move up here. It is a relatively short range trade. I do feel like we could trade 183 for maybe getting 252 in return. So we keep the main amount of quantity of picks, but boost in the quality for the Ravens there. So for the New York Giants, we are going to target Zach Center here. Even if I drafted an interior offensive lineman earlier, which I don't believe I did, we drafted Cooper Beebe earlier. I thought I drafted Cooper Beebe for the Jaguars. Oh, Jackson Powers Johnson. Honestly, both interior spots need to get fixed. I'm not going to get mad about that. Not at all. This is unbelievable value. You have now 3 star interior offensive linemen, and now you have a left guard and a right guard that you drafted. To be fair, even though it was a mistake, I think that fell into place a lot better than what I originally expected. At pick number 95, looking at other players that I do want to just kick off the board, not to the Chiefs, but in general, looking at them, like Chris Abrams-Drain, this is a team that could honestly use Chris Abrams-Drain. L'Jarius Sneed's up for a contract as well, so there is now a contingency plan in place. I really like Chris Abrams-Drain. He's played boundary corner this year. He can play safety. He can play slot. I like the versatility. It's good value here at pick 95. At pick 96 for the Commanders, I'm going to look at linebacker at this point. And with Tommy Eichenberg on the board, I don't feel like I'm going to stutter too much when going after him. Pick number 97 for the Bills. So we've already drafted wide receiver with Troy Franklin. We've already drafted defensive back with Kalen King. I think we could look at the tackles that are available. Jeez. Yeesh. Not too bueno, my friends. I could look at offensive line in general, just get BPA with Donovan Jackson here. Running back, to be fair, they don't really have a power back. And I think Blake Corum could be a really good back in this system. I personally would get Latavius Murray the hell out of there, and we're going to go Blake Corum out of Michigan. At pick number 98 for the San Francisco 49ers, I think we ended up just trading out with them. We've already gone after Quinyon Mitchell, as well as Kingsley Suamataia. So at this selection, again, I don't think this team needs much, but they could have honestly been one of the teams to go after Zach Center. They probably should have been. But regardless, at this selection, Christian Mahogany's here and Donovan Jackson is. I'm going to go Donovan Jackson and see what happens. Hyper athlete, potentially could play tackle too. Overall, great player. At pick number 99 for the Jaguars, honestly, another team that could take a guard like Christian Mahogany. You know, just the value of these interior offensive linemen is incredible at this spot. These guys are genuine flex starters, and I'm willing to get two of them. I'm willing to do it. Let's go Christian Mahogany here for the Jaguars. We're having a run on offensive linemen at the end here. And at pick 100 for the Miami Dolphins, we've already had, this was formerly from the Philadelphia Eagles selection. I want to see if maybe there's any players who I really want to kick off the board. Let's end this off on a high note. We're having an in-division trade with the New England Patriots, mainly because the Patriots are going to pay a good amount. We're going to pay pick 181, and then they'll ask for maybe like 246 in return. Again, do your own negotiating if you don't like the value. But with the Patriots, we're trading in division to draft Devontae Walker and pair him up with Drake Maye. I just wanted that story to end it off. So that is going to be the video. Thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for the 2025 NFL Mock Draft. See you on the far side. Peace.